Live Zone. Well, my next guest really needs no introduction. You see, he's one of the most influential innovators in modern education. As the founder of Packard Learning and Excel Schools, he oversees a rapidly expanding network of charter schools and global education initiatives serving students across multiple continents. Prior to this, I should make mention he built K-12 Incorporated into nearly a $1 billion company before launching his next ambitious venture focused on transforming education outcomes at scale. Ladies and gentlemen, yet again, he needs no introduction. Please welcome Mr. Ron Packard to the show. Mr. Packard, it is truly an honor to have you on today.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Your story, I would argue, is one made for a movie. I got a chance to do my research, sir, and when you look at your entrepreneurial journey, your global education strategy, and the future of learning in an age of technological disruption, well, I got to say you are the founder, if you will, and or all things guru surrounding that. How does that make you feel knowing that, sir?
Well, I feel like I have so much more to do, right? You know, I founded the new company, and our mission is to literally help children globally. And I feel now where technology is, we're able to do that in a way that would have been impossible 30 years ago. So I hope I have a lot of years left to do more.
Yeah, so I fully understand that, but can I argue that it's the challenge, and with that challenge, you've been able to handle it oh so well in Excel. But not only that, you've been able to really now focus on an entirely new venture. How did that come to be?
Well, when I was running the K-12 as a public company, it was impossible to do anything other than online schools. And I really believe that education is different for each child, and that some children should be in a brick and mortar setting, some should be in a blended setting, and some should be full-time online. So that just became impossible to do. So I started a new venture that would allow me to do both globally, but also go into brick and mortar schools, where I think for the foreseeable future, 90+% of kids will actually get their education.
Yeah, it's so interesting how all of this continues to unfold right before our very eyes. You just touched on that, and that is, in essence, delivering a quality education across such a diversified culture, if you will, or platform, I should say. I'm thinking all the different continents that you've been able to do just that, different governments, different folks that wake up and learn something in a different way each and every day. Yet again, you must be applauded and or congratulated for doing just that, sir.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I think we have had success because we stand for excellence. You know, I get to wake up every day, and my mission in life is to give kids a better education. And I think whether we're doing it in Uganda or we're doing it in Abu Dhabi or Switzerland or the UK or the US, the theme is excellence, right? And math and science education should be the same everywhere. And then we can do some customization for local cultures, right? Which is what most parents want. They want their children to have an international education, but also have a local cultural education. And I think we're able to do that successfully.
One of the things, speaking of being successful, you were able to do oh so successfully happens to be opening and acquiring some 17 new schools. And oh, by the way, offering families 3 learning options, not 1, not 2, but 3, sir. I'm curious, how do you make something like that happen when so many others could not?
So I think we had a couple of advantages. One, we're an entrepreneurial company. I have great people. So the second the pandemic and schools were closed, we huddled together and figured out how are we going to deliver education the next fall. And what became clear is, you know, some parents wanted their kids home, some wanted them in the building, some wanted them a few days in the building. So because we're such experts in online education, we were able to construct 3 different models that gave you your parents those choices. And what's amazing is when we look at our schools, we opened in the fall of 2020 when most brick and mortar schools were closed, and the learning losses that we saw in our schools were significantly less than public schools on average. So I think having that expertise and having that culture where we were mapping out, for example, we figured out how to get meals to those children in underprivileged children in our schools who had no other way of getting meals. So we were they could come to the schools and pick them up. The governor closed the schools in Ohio, I think, on Friday. We had that done by Monday. So it's just a culture of trying to do the right thing and people that are willing to work to do that.
And then there happens to be the Jefferson Classical Academies, a tuition-free online, and it's rooted in great books curriculum. With that being said, that's a combination that most people would say, you know what, that doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. However, yet again, you made that happen, and it all boiled down to your vision.
It's very simple. I think, classical education, which is, basically I always tell people that's how John Adams would have educated John Quincy Adams, and that worked out pretty well for him. and it's focused on knowledge, communication, and logic. And amazingly, I think even though this is a 2,000-year-old methodology, I think it's actually more relevant in the world of AI. Because what are the skills that are going to reward people when you can go to ChatGPT or Claude and get answers instantaneously? It's going to be that creativity, it's going to be the logical reasoning, and the ability to communicate. So ironically, the classification is probably more relevant today than it would have been 20 years ago, right? And it teaches virtues, right? When children read, they should learn values and virtues, because AI is soulless. It has no soul, it has no values. So it's almost more important that children get good values today than it would have been prior to this.
As the saying goes, the proof is in the pudding. Case in point, I'm looking at the Excel Schools Network. Some 94% of schools matched and or exceeded the value-added performance of the average school in their district. That's proof in the pudding in a major way.
It is proof in the pudding, and the fact that we're able to do it at a substantial discount to taxpayers is something we're really proud of, right? We do it both effectively and efficiently, and that's hard, right? That's hard to do at scale. But we've been doing it because I have great people. I have people who really care about educating children.
You know, as we wrap up, I'm thinking about you stating you have great people, but that comes from, well, I would argue, family and what you were taught as a child. Not only that, but you worked at Goldman Sachs for quite some time. The transition from going from that world to what you're doing now. Do tell.
So I think when you work at places like Goldman Sachs and McKinsey, you work with very smart people. You learn a lot about finance. You learn a lot about strategy. And I've just been blessed that I've been able to take that and apply it to something that I think is a huge social value, right? And in America, if you can create companies like I've been able to do, that entrepreneurial dream, while combining it with a social mission, I can't think of a better way to spend a life.
We'll end with this, and that is Penn Suffolk Learning was recently honored with the Top School Management Solution Award. Congratulations yet again. Technology is clearly your central approach, if you will, from the Excel management platform to online learning. We have entered a world where AI has pretty much taken over, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on the emerging technologies that are now reshaping our world.
You know, it's extraordinary what you can now do with software, with the AI software, and education is going to be affected by it. And I don't think anyone really knows exactly how. I mean, I think children are going to be going to schools for a long time because, you know, they provide a huge value in so many ways, not just educational-wise, but socially. But I think AI is going to be integrated into that education process in a way that I'm not sure we fully have mastered that yet, but you know, you're already showing some signs that people's brains are developing differently because they're not having to think. And so I think it's almost more important that we actually get kids thinking and being creative than it was prior to this. So we're on top of it. You know, I love technology, and we're going to stay on top of it and hopefully lead the way in how AI positively affects education.
Wise words by Mr. Ron Packard. It is truly an honor, yet again, sir, to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the time.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.